Welcome to a self-published author's diary. I am Elodie Novodatsky. I write about first time, second chances, things that scare the crap out of me, and things that make me laugh out loud. I'll be speaking with you and sharing my adventures in self-publishing, the behind the scenes of writing, and the business side of it. And before we get started today, a small message from our sponsor, Anchor. Thanks for listening. Good morning. I hope you're all doing, not whole, I hope you're all doing very well. And I just wanted to first thank you, really thank you, because you listening to this podcast has been really just like putting a smile on my face. I am so grateful that many of you have taken a chance on this little podcast of mine. And granted, I did announce it with the interview of the chemical engineer, which had so far the most plays of the podcast episodes. And somebody who I know is probably listening did say that Alex sounded like George Clooney. So please do let me know if my husband sounds like George Clooney. People have said he looks like Matt Damon, and apparently he looks like Matt Damon and sounds like George Clooney. The things I learn. And thank you to everyone who's also already added my new book that's coming out on August 18th, 2021, The Leftover Bride, hashtag The Leftover Bride with the pound sign, on Goodreads, and those of you who already pre-ordered it. If you have already added it to Goodreads and or pre-ordered it, I've also been sharing little snippets with everyone who has left a comment on my Facebook author page and or Facebook reader groups. And I'm going to do the same with my readers mailing list and on Instagram. On Instagram, my handle is at @novodatsky, NOWOD as dog, AZKIJ. And you can actually find me on Facebook. My Facebook author page has the same handle, as does my Twitter. If you would like to subscribe to my readers mailing list, it is in this episode's description, as well as on my blog. And my blog you can find at www.elodienovodatsky.com. I also wanted to quickly mention, in my last episode, I've talked about the Allman Foundation. And in case you're interested in helping, they have a wish list on myregistry.com, which I'm also linking in today's episode's description, as well as on my blog. And you can give them a memo board, or you can give them a rug. They're also asking for Amazon Fire TV stick and stuff like this. It's really to help the patients who are finding a home away from home at the Allman Foundation House in Baltimore. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about the little book that could, and that little book is A Summer Like No Other, as well as the way that I'm tracking sales. So A Summer Like No Other, I did a short blog post a couple of months ago, and it had 115 reviews on Amazon.com. And guess how many reviews it has now? It has 155 reviews. It's my most reviewed books on Amazon.com. The quick hook for Summer Like No Other is she's his best friend's little sister. He's the biggest player of them all. They should not be together, but this summer's just too tempting. It's going to be a summer like no other. Did you know I wasn't planning on writing A Summer Like No Other? But did you also know that this is the book that got the attention of a French publisher, got picked up by said publisher, and enabled me to be in French bookstores? I published A Summer Like No Other in July 2015, almost 6 years ago. A Summer Like No Other has been translated in French, German, Italian, Spanish, Portuguese, and Chinese. When I say has been translated, it's that I published this book in all those languages, including in French before it got picked up by the publisher. It is currently perma-free in English on all e-retailers, and it is available on paperback on Amazon and on bookshop.org. It is also available as audiobook, and it's available on Audiobook Wide, meaning on Audible, Amazon, iTunes, Google Play, Chirp, Nook Audiobook, Scribd, and Binge Books. And it is narrated by Megan Carter. Here is a very short snippet of the audiobook. It's from the first chapter.
The pop music blasts from the speakers so loudly that it resonates within me. I jump once, twice, 3 times with my fist in the air, and then my hips move to the pounding rhythm. The mirrors on the wall aren't used to seeing me dance like this. I usually dance to Mozart, Tchaikovsky, Prokofiev, Minkus, not to Madonna. I tilt my head to the side. I don't want to rehearse the movements from any ballet choreographies, but I should. I rise on my toes into a releve. I don't want to be Amelia Moretti, 16-year-old ballerina who tries to perfect every single movement to the point of obsession. I lower my body down, bending my knees over my feet, into a plie. I don't want to be the girl who swears she doesn't care about being adopted, but who has been trying to find her birth parents. I stand on my toes again. I don't want to dwell on the fact that I have the saddest crush on Nick, the best dancer at the School of Performing Arts and my brother's best friend. I want to let go and dance.
If I'm looking at all my books that I've sold since 2014, A Summer Like No Other in French, in terms of copies sold, is my most sold book. I sold more than 1,300 paperback copies of the English edition of A Summer Like No Other since 2015, and it has been downloaded for free more than 17,000 times. I haven't advertised this book in English at all for years, and just last July, 400 people downloaded it, and I sold 56 paperback copies. Can you hear my dog snore? I think he's gonna snore in all episodes. The French version has even much better numbers, both for the paid ebook and for the paperback version. Especially since the French paperback version was picked up by a French publisher and was also sold in bookstores and supermarkets and Cultura and La Fnac and in libraries. I mean, it was great. It is great. I have sold more than 4,000 copies of A Summer Like No Other in French, so of Un été pas comme les autres. I have sold 2,992 copies, ebooks plus paperback, through my different publishing platforms, as well as 1,011 paperback copies through my French publisher. Those numbers from my French publisher are from 2019. I haven't gotten my 2020 sales numbers from them yet. I usually get them in April, May, so I should get them soon. And this doesn't count the pages read when Un été pas comme les autres was in Kindle Unlimited. So again, in terms of perspective, the numbers I'm giving you, as always, are great for some, and for others, it's just another day. So for me, A Summer Like No Other is truly the little book that could. I track my sales mainly using Trackerbox and Book Report. Both links are on my show's episode as well as my blog post. And I have to say my husband too, my wonderful husband, who is apparently a mix of Matt Damon and George Clooney. The chemical engineer, he has also started helping me analyzing some of the data. He's very super duper busy. So I really do appreciate whenever he takes the time to help me out with some of the business side of things. He also, as he will tell you, and I know he's listening, so yes, he also does inspire some of my characters and does listen when I'm talking about plotting my novel. In Trackerbox, I can add all the sales report from all different platforms, and I can see all historical data, revenue data, unit data, and everything. In Book Report, which is a browser extension, I can see my Kindle Direct Publishing data. Like historically, I can really pinpoint like how much did I make on that day compared to that day last year. The problem with Trackerbox for me is that it uses the monthly report data, and some of them, like KDP, when you feed Trackerbox that particular data, it does not report, day by day. So when you're trying to do historic data and see how things have worked, it's kind of hard to analyze. You can, as I said, access the historic data by day on Book Report, but I'd really like to have the data by day for all retailers. And why is that? Because I'm starting again to lean into doing advertisements for several of my books. I need to know what my return on investment is. In the Ads for Author class I'm currently taking by Mark Dawson, he provides students with an Excel list on how to keep track of Facebook ads and sales. But in one of the groups I'm in for the 5 days Amazon Ads Challenge, that is a free class, Someone has shared a screenshot of their Excel list, and it looked great to keep track of all ads and sales and ROI, return on investment. I've tried throughout the years to come up with different tables and such, but nothing has really worked so far for me. I even checked on Etsy to see if anyone had made such an Excel table available, but I do still need to dig in other places to see if I can find the Excel worksheet that will enable me to be even more strategic and more aware of what works and what doesn't when it comes to advertising. So as mentioned, this little book has 155 reviews on Amazon.com and counting. It also has a lot of reviews on iBooks, on Google, on Kobo. I mean, it's just the book with the reviews for me. And granted, not all reviews are raving. The one on top of the Amazon page is a 1-star review telling readers not to read A Summer Like No Other because that book will make you angry. And another one on the German Amazon site talks about the fact that this book is an Oscar Wilde-esque and lacks moral. So yes, I sometimes do read my reviews, as you can tell. I wanted to share those full reviews, but apparently Amazon reviews belong to Amazon due to copyright. I'm not quite sure. So why am I out here on my blog and my podcast telling you all that my book got crappy reviews? And well, it's to show you that all books get negative reviews, and that's perfectly fine. Not everyone will like what you're writing. Not everyone likes what I'm writing. And, once it's out there, once I publish it, it's with the readers. When I read the reviews, sometimes it's, to make me feel like I enjoy reading 5-star reviews and telling me how great my book is and how much readers have loved it. The 1-star reviews, so sometimes it even informs my advertising and the way I market my books, because one of the reviews talked about the fact that Fear Me, Fear Me Not was like a Lifetime movie, and yeah. The sales of A Summer Like No Other also have not dwindled at all since that 1-star review took center stage on the product page. So I guess I don't get as stressed out about those reviews. And I still get those little moments where my stomach clenches as I release a new book, wondering about, the first reviews trickling in, checking my book page to see if anyone reviewed it or what readers thought about the story I spent months, this case, the one that's upcoming, years working on. But I don't dwell on them as much. And it's also easier, full disclosure, not to dwell too much on the reviews because the overall rating, like the average, is higher than 4. So, that's fine. And some readers have called A Summer Like No Other the greatest book they've ever read, or that they fell in love with the characters. And did you know that A Summer Like No Other got reviewed in The Guardian? It's pretty cool. As mentioned, I wasn't planning on writing A Summer Like No Other. My goal was to write Always Second Best, which is the second part of Em and Nick's story, as a standalone companion novel to my first novel, 1, 2, 3. But as I drafted Always Second Best, I kept on thinking about that summer between Nick and Em. I kept on thinking that I needed to really get to know them better. And so maybe I should just write out that summer between them. So I did. I did it as a way to really get to know my characters and to make Always Second Best stronger. It really was only supposed to help me understand the characters better, but I fell in love with that summer story. And I drafted it very quickly. It took me a few months only between the moment I started drafting it and the moment I sent it to my copy editor. Super fast. It's a novella, so it's shorter, but still, I think it took me a month to write it, a month and a half, which for me was fast. Write it and ready to be sent off. My critic partners loved the story, and this was one I did not need to revise a lot either. I had been thinking about it so much while I had started drafting Always Second Best that I couldn't wait to dig deeper into that summer. And it ended up being A Summer Like No Other, Nick and Em Part 1, and the rest is history. A Summer Like No Other, as I said, is available in French, German, Italian, Spanish, Portuguese, and Chinese, and the French version of A Summer Like No Other was translated by Edith Girval. No, I do not translate my own books in French. but I can reread the translation and talk to my translators through the process. Me translating my own books in French would take me forever and would require a lot, and I mean a lot of editing afterwards. Not because I don't speak or write French, but because I've been living outside of France for more than half my life now. I will discuss this in more detail later, but I think if I start now, it's going to be like a very long podcast episode, and my goal is to keep my episodes below 30 minutes. Un n'était pas comme les autres really took off when I published it. It shot up the charts. And the reason why it did so well in French is that I think I got into the French-speaking Facebook ads when there were not a lot of authors yet who were advertising on Facebook in France. My cost per click was very low. It was less than 10 cents at the time and is still to this day about 17 cents. And it converted very well into sales. I am sharing the ad on my blog, and the blog post link again is in the episode description. And that ad got so much traction at the time, even though it has text on it, it's basically the background image of my cover, adding my cover, and then the little blurb of what the book is about. And then the action call is let yourself be tempted in French. And then it has romance, ballet, secrets underneath. And at the time, and even now, I mean, if you have text on your ad, it might not be great for conversion, so to turn those ads into sales. But to me in France at that time, it really worked. I replied to all comments and answered questions readers had about the book, like comments on the ad. And readers were asking about the book. They were asking about follow-up books. Readers were telling how much they loved the book on the ad. And then people were replying and they were tagging each other for like getting it as gifts, asking people to get them that book. I mean, it was a very interesting experience for me, as I had tried the same in America for my English-speaking books and never got that kind of traction. I released Always Second Best in French not long after, and it also did very, very well. And that's how a summer like No Other caught the attention of a French publisher and made me a so-called hybrid author, self-published and traditionally published. On November 21st, 2016, I received an email from a French publisher who contacted me to see if I would be interested in signing with them for the French versions of A Summer Like No Other and Always Second Best, plus a possible option book. At first, I thought it was a scam. Like, really. I don't have an agent, and I wasn't sure how to go about it. I don't recommend selling your foreign rights without an agent. An agent may have been able to negotiate different aspects of the contract for me. I think I got lucky, one, because, I speak French, and I was able to do my research, see the story of their imprint, look at the other authors they had signed with, and I was able to negotiate with them directly. I only sold the rights to the paperback version and not to other formats or languages. Honestly, I negotiated that. I'm going to be mentioning my husband, I guess, 3 times in this episode, because he's the one who told me. He's like, when I got the contract, it also mentioned that it could become part of a book club that I really, 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 really enjoyed when I was younger. And when I lived in France, I was part of this monthly book club. And when I saw that, I was just like, and you get that email and you think like, wow, I might be able to be in bookstores, which was something I had, I had thought of, but since I was going with self-publishing, and I know there are ways to get your books in stores as a self-published author, but at that stage of my career, I wasn't looking at that. And yeah, so I was just so excited when I got that email that I was just basically jumping up and down and telling my husband, and he's like, well, maybe you could ask to only give away your paperback rights. And so I did. I asked, and they said yes. And maybe it would have been different if I had never released any of the books, but the books had been out for a while. So the new market was really more the paperback in bookstores and grocery stores and everything. So they are also wonderful. They've been amazing with follow-ups, answered all my questions. I got my author copies. It's just my advance. I got everything. And I really enjoyed working with them. Unfortunately, they no longer carry the YA line, but they were part of a bigger imprint. And those, I am still receiving royalty information and everything. It was great. I even saw my books in French bookstores and grocery stores. Like basically seeing them in grocery stores in France, like I saw them, somebody sent me pictures of Auchan, if you're familiar with France, and Cora. And it's kind of like, seeing one of my books making it into Target level of excitement. And when I was a student in France at the university, I used to work as a cashier in one of those in Cora. So it was just very exciting. I mean, talking about all of this still feels surreal, even though I signed that first contract more than 4 years ago. I also have bilingual copies. A Summer Like No Other is available in several bilingual copies: German, English, German, Italian, Italian, English, French, English, English, Spanish, and more coming soon. I can even give you the first sentence in different languages. I will do it in English, French, and German, and Spanish. My Spanish accent is not good. In English, the first sentence, which you've heard Megan narrate already, is "The pop music blasts from the speakers so loudly that it resonates within me." In German, it's "Die Popmusik dröhnt so aus den Lautsprechern, dass sie in mir widerhallt." En français, des haut-parleurs s'échappe une musique pop assourdissante. Le son est si fort que chaque note résonne dans mon corps. And in Spanish, la música pop suena tan fuerte en los parlantes que retumba en mi interior. I told you my Spanish accent is pretty bad. If you've read A Summer Like No Other, I do have exclusive bonus sins that are available to my readers' newsletter. You can sign up on my website. And again, thank you. Thank you for listening. And thank you to everyone who has given A Summer Like No Other a chance, from my critic partners to my French publisher to all the people who have read it in whatever language and format. Thank you to everyone who has taken the time to review it. And thank you to all the readers who have sent me an email to let me know how much they loved this book. So that's it for today. I've actually recorded this episode in 3 different times. I've recorded it on Monday, April 19th, and it will be available tomorrow. You're listening to it in the future, I guess. And today I got the second COVID vaccine shot. So I'm very, very excited about this. And yeah, when it comes to my writing goals for this week, I am currently rereading The Leftover Bride. And my plan is to make those words as shiny as I can before I send the manuscript off to my critic partners. And that is it for today. Don't forget to subscribe and rate this podcast. That really does help. And as always, if you want to see the episode's notes, you can check out the episode's description, and it also has a link to my website. And you can also go to my website directly at www.elodienowodatsky.com. Thank you. Happy writing if you're a writer, and happy reading to everyone.